So it is Tuesday, 24th of February. We got Andrew back, but this time Andrew is an investor in our company.
Yep.
So, Andrew, thank you for joining. It's been a few years. Last time you joined, I had just gone through a separation. You were one of my first guests. You had just finished with another company. You've done so much shit. So tell people who you are, what do you do, why do you do it, all the good stuff in 1 minute, please.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. My name's Andrew. Hi, I'm from a small town in Canada. I founded a company in college, came to Silicon Valley, and I've been doing that for the last 15 years. I've been founding companies, scaling companies, advising companies. As of 3 years ago or so, started investing in companies. So yeah, textbook Silicon Valley, super exciting stuff.
Andrew is my Peter Thiel. Is my Peter Thiel. 6 years ago, I met this guy, and I was like, I need to know how to deal with a pain in the ass client. He said, stop the service, and I stopped the service, and the client went nuts.
Oh, yeah.
But I got paid, and I remember calling you. You said you didn't really do that, did you?
Yeah. Hey.
It worked though. So
Yeah.
page out of my book. So Andrew, look, most people are good at one thing. They're founding, selling, or investing. You're a triple threat in this case. 3-time founder, 2 exits. You've scaled revenue from 0 to 100 million. And now you're a VC with a portfolio that's 700% up in 2 years. I think whoever goes to your profile, you'll know that the company is called Darwinian Ventures for a reason. And in 2026, only the fittest survive. So Andrew, today we're going to tell us exactly how to be one of them. But let's start with the founder versus the investor. So you've sat on both sides of the table. I've heard really cool stories from you myself. What's one thing you thought mattered as a founder that you now realize as an investor is completely different?
Okay, I think the biggest, I guess in the early days when you're a founder and you start to have investors, you kind of overshare details maybe a little bit too much. Like you think that full disclosure is a good thing. Some folks actually go either way. Some folks are really terrified of sharing details and they're really guarded. Some folks are maybe a little bit over the top, like they'll share every little thing and they need almost like permission to like they need permission to like spend money and like all this stuff. I think the biggest thing that investors want to see is that like spark and the fire is still there, and it doesn't take a lot to transmit that. So obviously, if there's a big problem, you got to share it. If there's a big decision, you got to share it. If there's a big win, you got to share it. You don't need to go into the details because the investor probably can't do anything. But the main thing is like let them know that the fire is still there and that it's bigger and better and the future is great and all that. Like that's really all investors are buying. Most investors are kind of gamblers at the end of the day, and what they're buying is that feeling of like potential abundance. Like that's what they're feeling. So if you can give them that feeling, it doesn't matter if you fail. You can lose their money. It doesn't matter. I've made money for investors and I've lost money for investors as a founder, and I've kept really good relationships with the folks that I've lost money for, and it didn't bother them at all because they knew that like the fire was there the entire time, and you know they had the potential shot at abundance to get. We had it together, you know, and if it didn't work, that's fine. But we really tried, and that's great. They would invest in me again. And then obviously the ones that you make money for, it's easy to keep a relationship with them. But it's really interesting. Like that's what you're selling when you raise money, is a ticket to the abundance show. And like you got to give them that. The details aren't as important. Like give them some details, that's fine. Yeah. But let them feel like they're really a part of this like potential rocket ship.
I think that's a very different thing. So I asked multiple members of my family to invest in my first company. It was a no. My dad and my sister, and then the second company again. And then even like having all these wins, I've had a whole bunch of wins. And I asked my uncle the other day, he's in the UK too. There's a lot of schemes in the UK to warrant investment and protect investment. So I said, hey, look, the company's doing really good. Do you want to invest in the company? He's like, I'd just rather keep my relationship good with you, Shane. And I'm like, what the fuck does the relationship have to do with this space? Like, if you're investing in a company, you should know there's a chance to lose it. What does me and you have to do in that picture? Yeah. And it goes to show, though, that a stranger from, I don't mean that in any bad way, but a stranger from Andrew's in San Francisco. So my parents are in New York, which is 3,000. That's like, what, 7,000 miles away? And to get somebody who has that confidence, it's because you understand and you're from that world. So I see that as very different. And it's
Yeah.
really great to see. So other founders, I think you should have a lot of confidence that if your family can't help and you do want to pursue a dream, number one, it's easier than ever. Barrier to entry is easier than ever. I've got a lot of things pushed forward with a very low level of investment to start, but go for it. Go for it and try meeting new people, and the right one will give you a chance. It took me 12 years. So you've seen the journey, though. This is what we want to do. We want to do it in record breaking time, as every founder does. But you've seen the journey from 0 to 100 million. What breaks first? Is it the product, the people, or the process?
What breaks?
Yeah, first. So let's say you got run rate. We got 1 million recurring revenue. Things are going good with 10 people. Let's say 5 people. We want to grow. In that moment of saying, Andrew, we're ready to take it to the next step. We need some more money. What breaks at that point? Typically first.
Well, to get to 100 million in revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, to get from 1 to 100 million is there's like many chapters in there, but I would say the most psychologically interesting time is when you start to realize that things are happening with people whose names you don't even know, that are like moving the business forward. So it gets really like, for the first time, it starts to be a lot more systematized. And I mean, 100 million there's so many chapters between 1 and 100. It's really tough.
So maybe we could unpack it a little bit, because we've got seed, A, B, C, D. So from your experience, maybe if you were to segment on, does it break more in seed, series A, series C? Like what have you seen to be kind of the experience?
They're just very different problems. It's really amazing how different they are. It's like you almost have to be a whole other species of founder from one chapter to the next. And that's probably the hardest part of the whole founder journey, is that you have to kind of like shapeshift like really intensely, like down to your bones, for each chapter. And I even look at, like, most of my work has been in the 0 to 1, 0 to 2 kind of area, so very early stage. And even within that, I break down like getting to the first dollar, getting to the first 100K. How do I break it down? I have a whole talk on this, but getting to the first dollar is a whole chapter. Getting to the first 100K is another chapter. Getting to the 300K is another chapter. And then getting to the million is another chapter. Now from there, I'd say, getting to 5 is probably a distinct chapter. Past 5, it gets a little bit kind of linear. You're just adding heads. Maybe you're adding regions. Maybe you're adding a couple of specializations. It's really at like the 20 to 30 number where, like, okay, then you start realizing, all right, I don't even know half these people, and like we're depending on them to hit our number. And it's like really interesting, because you got these divisions and teams, and like everyone kind of needs to know what's going on, but they don't sit in the same room anymore. And that's where it turns into more of a systems and like a team kind of a thing.
What have you seen to be then like the unified center of truth? Like when you're at that stage then where you're going, let's say 10 to 20, you've done it quite well. Now you want to go from 20 to the next phase. So where, like, CRM is obviously one thing, but when you have so many regions, like where does that centralized source of truth, like what does that look like? Is it a CRM? Is it different?
CRM, people say it's the tools and the data and the systems. I actually tend to, like, I have a bit of a, like, my view on it is that you need a really strong leader, and that's why execs make the big bucks. Like in now, sometimes justified, sometimes not, but when it's working the way it should be, the executives get the big bucks because they're like a really rock solid personality. It's like almost like a center of gravity that people respect and they're a little scared of. And the person's really capable. They know all the answers. They can hire, they can fire. They're not afraid of anything. Like that individual. And I think that's just the way human beings are wired. You can do that with systems and tools and CRM and dashboards and stuff like that. But if you don't care about whoever is running them, like if you're not a little afraid and a little in awe and a little respectful, it doesn't matter. The numbers don't mean shit. But if you got a boss who knows his shit and is on you and is not afraid to fire you, like, damn, you're paying attention like hardcore. So that's kind of, there's like an interesting psychological thing. And that's where I see this all the time. People will focus on their tools and their dashboards, but the leader is a pushover. When you're small, you can get away with that because you'll get these really mission-driven, early-stage young people just trying to fight the fight. Hey, who cares? We're all fighting together. But when you're a team of 100 or 200, that doesn't work as well anymore. Like you need like a kind of respected and intense leader. And I think that's a really key part of it.
Makes a lot of sense. So
Yeah.
why Darwinian Ventures? Is the startup world getting more brutal or more honest?
Ha. I love the idea that you got to evolve or you're going to die. I just think that's so key. So that's where the name came from. And, it's not even, people think, okay, survival of the fittest. It's not even, there's even another quote. No one knows. People think it was Darwin. It might have been someone else. But the quote that I love is that it's not the strongest of creatures that survives. It's the one most adaptive to change. And I think it's a great quote. Now, people are going to go off in the comments, oh, Darwin didn't say it. Some people think he did. Some people didn't. Doesn't matter. I don't care. It's a great quote. And I think it really applies. It's very true. And in the startup world, it's ultra true. So it doesn't matter if you went to a fancy school or if you whiteboarded everything in a really smart way. If the environment changes, you got to respect that or you're going to be gone. And we've seen that with big companies, small companies, well-capitalized companies, badly capitalized companies. It doesn't matter. It's really the changing environment and adaptability to the changing environment that's key. And so that's where the name came from. So I think that's more true now than ever. And I think it's really kind of awesome to see how humbling it is. It's like this never-ending, humbling jungle kind of thing. And the folks that were on top of the world and beating their chests with their SaaS companies valued at 200 million like 2 years ago are not feeling so hot anymore. And now there's these little upstarts that had these little dinky things where you could put $20 on your credit card, and now they're making 200 million in revenue.
Nissan, right? Yeah. Good old Amber from Replit.
It's wild, yeah. And if you're a real student of the changing environment, it all kind of makes sense. Yep. And a lot of these folks got to put their egos at the door and just be slaves and students of the environment. And I think that's key. And they got to evolve and adapt and throw away everything they thought they knew constantly. And it's just happening now faster and faster. But I think that's always been the case. And I love that element of business. Like that's where the name and kind of the philosophy came from.
I like this. This is the first time I feel like we've unlocked the Darwinian personality. Andrew's personality, seen a little bit more animation in this side. So, Andrew, you talk a lot about systems thinking, right, for CROs. You're a CRO, multiple times CRO. Most sales leaders that I'm speaking to, they just want to hire more reps and make more calls. I've seen that a lot of times. You get those very few that want to actually look at the data and be careful how they do it. Why is that a trap, though?
Well, it's an interesting thing. So CROs, all right, I've worked with some of the best CROs in the world, and I've been a CRO, and I've been the right hand to a couple different CROs, different industries. Okay, so the sales career path is really odd because a really good seller makes more than their boss. Like that's just kind of how it works. So you don't necessarily, it's not like other roles where like all you're thinking about is going to the next level in the hierarchy. Like, oh, I want to be a VP. Oh, I want to be an EVP. I want to be a GM. I want to be a, C-suite person. That doesn't really work in sales. In even the big companies, the Fortune 500, there are sellers making more than some of the most senior executives at the company. So what that means is CROs are often sellers that were really good sellers, and they just maybe took a wrong turn, or they really wanted to try it, and they just thought, okay, I'm going to go be a leader now. But again, it's a very different species. It's a whole different type of work and type of headspace. So if you're a great seller, that doesn't mean you're a really good sales leader. And I think usually the big missing piece of becoming a good sales leader is this like systems thinking. So it's like factory. You're thinking about it like a factory. So you got your lead gen and your development and your business development. You're putting in pipeline. Like what are the rates of like what are the percentages of things that make their way all the way to close one and all that sort of thing. So unfortunately, just in my experience, not to generalize, don't want to offend anyone, sellers are bad at that stuff. Salespeople they're different. They're like emotional. They're not, emotional is the wrong word. They're intuitive, empathetic relationship people. They build trust. They can navigate complex environments. They can navigate complex audiences and know their audience and that sort of thing. But to build a meticulously crafted factory with inputs and outputs and like throughput constraints and stuff like that, like they're bad at that. So what I normally see with a CRO is that it's someone who is a really good seller who wanted to be a leader, went down that path, but they're still much stronger as a seller than they are as a factory builder. And that's where I think the tools are really helpful. So if they have like a good sales ops person or like those are usually the factory people. And that's actually how I came up. So I came up through the ranks as a sort of chief of staff, sales ops, rev ops sort of person. With incredible, like working for really great CROs. So I think that marriage, if you can find a CRO that has both, that's like a crazy, like snap that person up in a minute. But it's hard to find. So usually you see those combos. You see a really good RevOps person and a really good relationship based, like sort of salesperson origin CRO. That's just been my experience. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. So you have been bullish, and even Darwinian does this to a certain tier. Actually, I don't know if it's like a new thing in the past 6 or 7 years since COVID, but a ton of fractional VPs of sales have come about. You've been bullish, though, on fractional VPs of sales. Why is that?
Yeah, I think...
Let me unpack it one stage more. Is the era of the full-time expensive VP over for early-stage startups?
Yeah, early stage I'm okay with fractional in some capacities, not in others. Yeah, all right, just in general... in an ideal world, everyone would have a full-time dedicated revenue leader playing chess, like figuring things out, dealing with pricing, strategizing, coaching, all that stuff. In the very early days, you can't really afford that. So I think in the early days, like sub 2, 3, even maybe up to 5 million in revenue, you don't need a non-producing, and what I mean by non-producing, like like actual deal closing head of sales. So that's where I think fractional can be really helpful, because you can get someone who's got really good instincts and really good strategy abilities, and can help with pricing and can see around corners and help with coaching. They sort of know what the NFL looks like, so they can, make sure that you're doing things properly. That's where most of Darwinian's business is that we will put people into startups, and they would never be able to afford these people. These are people that make 200, 300, 400K a year, 500 plus. But they'll put them in to a couple startups, and that way it kind of works. And they'll help make sure it's NFL level, that folks are doing things properly. They'll do the coaching. They'll make sure the systems look right. They'll help with pricing strategy. Now, once you're big enough, you should probably get a full-time person, but like that's down the road. So that's where I think fractional is really, really helpful for sales.
All right. And another thing that's helped me, I think systems and process was the one thing that created freedom. Like, so structure created freedom for me in my business.
Yeah.
When I implemented, I'd never run a business before. I ran it from a Udemy course. Like I started a business plan, put it together, didn't open it one time. And it was just like, we in 2 days, we had our first client. Amazing. The next week we had another client. And then 2 weeks later, we had a client from an email. I was like, holy shit, 10 grand client from an email. Yeah. And we were just printing money, and it was like, holy shit, this is really, really cool, but it was a mess. Yeah. It was an absolute mess, and I just thought it was instinctive I'd be able to get it off, but I couldn't. And eventually, I was recommended to read a book, EOS, by Traction. I think you probably read that book. You said a word, throughput. I don't know if you're an Eli Goldratt fan of The Goal, so that's the assembly line there. Yeah. And that structure was very big, and I look at sales like the process of elimination. Right. Yeah. And I think of it in a very scientific manner. And you have a background in science, for however relevant it is. How do you apply scientific methods to a sales pipeline? And if you could give me a specific example of a hypothesis a sales leader should test.
Yeah, I mean, like the ultra simplest version of this in early stage companies that I see all the time. And it's like you can do it, you can show it quantifiably, like in Signal with systems. But it's really, I think, in the early stages, it's maybe more of a gut feel thing because it's not as things are just not quite as like concrete. But the biggest mistake I see people make is that they'll hire their revenue team in the reverse order than they should. So they'll think, okay, we need revenue. Duh. Let's go hire a revenue person. Okay, seller. Hey, there's a seller. He used to bring in $1.5 million in revenue at his old job. Yeah. Hired. Done. Doesn't matter what pay him what he asks, bring him over. Great. Now, what they don't realize is that at that person's previous role, there was just so much going on that they didn't know about that led to that person creating $1.5 million of revenue a year. They had lead gen, they had tools, they had daily coaching, they had stand-ups, they had, a manager that really kind of understood their career path and like was helping them get where they wanted to go. Like there's all these little subtle things. And so usually what'll happen, and I've seen this so many times, I've seen tens of millions of dollars and just years and years and years of startups runway get burned on this mistake. So then this founder will be like, okay, shoot, that person didn't work, fired, let's try another one. Even if that person was a great seller, they're gone. Or they'll say, all right, well, this person's saying, oh, I need marketing materials and I need lead gen. Great, so let's go hire a BDR and let's go hire a marketing team. But they've already burned up 4 or 5 months of time with this seller. So then they'll hire a BDR, and the BDR takes 4 or 5 months to ramp fully anyways, right? And then they'll hire a marketing team. Again, takes 3 or 4 months to ramp with like proper materials and like actually getting any paid, like if they're doing paid acquisition, any of that stuff. So now you've got this seller, if they haven't been fired yet, who's been sitting around for 6 months or 7 to 8 months, who hasn't had a lot of things going on. If they were lucky and had a contact database of like a Rolodex of peers and buddies they could call, maybe they can survive. But even that's not sustainable. So like, I just see so many founders do it the wrong way. So what we try to do at Darwinian, and what I think anyone should do, you don't have to hire us, just be smart about it. Take it in the other direction. So like, build your lead gen first. Try to get marketing to bring in some leads first. See if you can prospect and book meetings first. Once the founder or the CEO's calendar is packed and he can't take any more customer meetings, then you can hire a closer, or you can promote whoever was prospecting for you. Like that. Like you're asking about throughputs. Like it's not the most scientific thing, but if you really understand the like conveyor belt or like the life cycle of a total stranger to being a total happy customer, paying customer, you realize that there's all those steps along the way. You got to build it in the order that those steps happen. Otherwise, you're just building this back heavy, completely underutilized thing. If you're just hiring closers, and man, I've seen that mistake so many times. So it's not the most scientific. You should do it by gut feel because you can't quantify all those things. They change a lot in the early stages, but yeah, that's like, if people you don't need to hire us, don't deal with us at all. Just go remember that nugget and it'll save you $1 million in like 3 or 4 quarters off of your runway.
It's true. I've seen it happen. I've been at companies where it's happened. A recent one, they asked us to join and get them some results. They said, we want 5 prospects with these types of customers. We got them 4 out of 5. And after the 3 months, they're like, oh, we want to have somebody in-house and we want to get them up to speed. We want them to be full-time. I'm like, do you know how long it takes to get that first, like, out of curiosity, what age do you think this person should be? Oh, 21 or 22 will be fine. And you want them to book meetings with corporate consumer lender, like Fortune 1000 companies. Yeah, we'll be able to do it. I think it's easy. I do a good job. And I was like, wow, you're a retard, bro. See you later. So, let's go into Darwinian Ventures. Sure. And this is a little bit, I want to unpack that because you've mentioned a little bit about what kind of fractional VPs look like, some of the value they can add. So in your case too, you're not just advising, you are investing. So tell me about Darwinian Ventures. Who are you looking for right now?
Yeah, Darwinian Ventures is it's boutique. So it really services a small subset of companies, but for those companies, we're like really good at what we do. So for B2B companies that have maybe started selling, but it's mostly the founder and they're trying to get off of just founder-led sales. They're trying to get to the $2 million or the $5 million revenue mark. So early-ish stage, but not like fully built out. We have a really, really laser targeted service package for that, where we embed and we staff people and we get them over that hump. And we do it without, the founder obviously helps get it going, but then the whole point is that the founder doesn't have to be closing deals as a requirement anymore. And it's all embedded too. So like we have the people on staff, so they know what they're doing. They're in there, they're doing the work. They work for multiple quarters to really get the rhythm going, the reporting, get that whole feedback loop working. And then if the client likes the team, they can selectively hire them and bring them on board permanently. So for that specific time, for that specific type of company, it's like the best thing. I don't think there's really anything else out there that comes close. We do some other things for bigger companies. We can do consulting and sort of tooling setup and RevOps streamlining. We can do Salesforce. That's Salesforce Tower behind me. We can do migrations and like really intense setup and consulting work around that. But that's a competitive market. The thing where we're really good at and unique is that early stage, like getting off of founder-led sales, getting to the first, say, 2 million in a repeatable way. It's more about being repeatable. So no tricks or no calling your buddies or calling in favors or any of that. And then if the company's doing well, we'll put in a check. We would like to be equity holders of the company. So we'll invest as well. But yeah, that's what Darwinian does. Yeah.
Is that like kind of a secret sauce model then that you have? Because it's really effective if you can float a bit of cash to a company, they get a bit of legs under the way, and then they can effectively come to you and they're like, hey, my diary's maxed out. We're starting to make a bit of money, and then you kind of inject that service right in there.
Yeah. That's our whole thing. That's what we're good at.
Lovely. All right. So who are you looking for though, in terms of, let's say, new founders that are maybe watching this and are aspirational? Is it more founders or is it more Darwinian opportunities, like as in customers?
Well, they're both. I mean, our clients are founders. So, I'm always looking for great founders to work with. And the folks that can find the most use out of us are B2B founders, early-ish. So like between $500,000 and maybe $1.5 million in ARR. Trying to break out of founder-led, or maybe they have one seller, but they're trying to build systems and repeatability. So that's what I'm always looking to meet those folks. And then on the other side of that, we're hiring too. So as we get clients, we have to hire. So I'm always looking for great fractional leaders who maybe have tried to go out on their own and want a little bit of structure, but they still want the flexibility and the variety, So we're looking for sellers, BDRs, RevOps, and fractional VPs of sales that are really kind of like looking for some variety and have the chops.
Lovely. So what type of specific founder gets you excited? Brown, short hair, lovely honeycombed eyes, built like a brick house. what other kind of founders get you excited?
I mean, that gets me real excited. I think what I'm looking for, like, we're really good at the sales part, so we're looking for founders that have the other part. So our best partners are usually more technical and more product-based founders. So, if a founding team has like a super experienced salesperson, they probably don't need to hire us. Like that's just not really our client. I think they're going to do great. Maybe I might want to invest, but that we're not going to be able to help them that much. So the best partners for us are the folks that are even stronger on the product side, even stronger on the engineering side. And that way we can be useful and they can be really good at what they do and get the thing going.
So I think you've actually answered this, because it's not just a check, right? You're actually a GTM operator with actually over a decade of experience. Mm-hmm. Beyond the VP of sales stuff, I obviously a friend, a voice to bounce ideas off. How else do you help your portfolio companies win?
We do a lot of help with their fundraising. So when a company is ready to go do their next round, obviously the revenue story is a big part of it. So we'll put that together. We'll put together any of the details, the stats, the metrics in terms of like what investors want to see. And now that I've been on both sides, kind of interesting, but what investors want to see is the recipe. They want to see 1 + 1 = 3. They want to see that, okay, if I give you $5 million, that's going to go to some hires. It's going to go to some data tools, maybe an office, whatever. Do you have a real idea of what the timeline and the outputs will be? So you can't really do that with the founder-led sales thing. If the founder has made all the revenue happen, you can't model off of those numbers at all. The founder is a unique and beautiful snowflake, right? Can't hire more of them. So like, you got to show them, all right, I'm going to go hire 3 people. Well, how long does it take? And how many deals can they close? Okay, if you don't know that, then it's just you're throwing money a little bit into the wind, and you can figure it out, but it's going to be wasteful. Now, if you can go to an investor and say, I can take a complete stranger, they can ramp in 2 months, they produce 100K of pipeline a month, it takes us 4 months to close that, so therefore it'll take us 18 months and we'll get to this number. If you can tell them all that from real data that's not the founder calling all of his Harvard buddies, like you're way further ahead. So we help with that all the time. And then now that we're co-investors, we have a huge network of VCs that we work with. So if we see a company where that math is good and we put in some capital, everyone knows that we don't have a huge fund. So if we're putting money in there, we really like it. And, then we'll help them put together their seed round or their A round based on all that.
So where should founders go if they think they have what it takes?
Hey, send me an email, ab@darwinian.com. Go to our website. We have a forum. You can reach out. We'd love to meet with you. We also do events here in San Francisco. So we host a bunch of dinners. We go to demo days. You'll see us around. It's a small town. we're all
going to be out there soon. I'm going to be out there soon. So look, I want to talk about the hype cycle. So we got, I think we got about, did you say you got to jump at 45 or?
Yeah.
5 minutes?
Or we got 5 minutes, yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So let's jump into this. So you're investing in AI right now, but you're also a realist. What's the biggest fake signal you see in AI pitches right now?
Fake signal, yeah. Some of the revenue ramps are just stupid. All right, here's what it is. Okay, I think a lot of the new AI tools in the last 12 months, say, you're seeing some that have these revenue ramps that are just silly.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting, but it also makes everyone else feel depressed. And they're like, oh, what the fuck? Like, I can't compete with that. Beneath the surface, all of those crazy revenue ramps are almost always individuals putting $20 a month on their credit card. So what that means is they're not real enterprise. Like, it's not a real contract. Like, it's not that binding. Yeah. It's not that sticky. It didn't go through procurement. They didn't go to their boss. They didn't get budget for it. It's not locked in for an annual contract. Like, it's easy in, easy out, easy come, easy go. I just canceled 4 subscriptions. I canceled Perplexity and a couple others. I don't use them that much. I kept a few. I canceled a few. It was painless. I didn't have to wait until the renewal date. It wasn't like a budgeting thing. Like, it was just like, I don't like this anymore. Goodbye. So, that tells me that these revenue thing, it's behaving almost more like a consumer product. So in consumer, you just have to get people, like, one individual psychology to work. So like a Labubu looks cute. You see the Labubu, $20, whatever, I have no idea. Pay the $20, get the Labubu, great, done. Very different from B2B. B2B, you have to go to a committee and you have to present it to a group and you have to go through procurement and they look at your contract and they redline. They check the budget. Okay, well, we can't do this until like 2 quarters from now. It's like this whole thing. But the side effect of doing all that is that by doing all that, you've gotten 20 other people bought into it. And because it's a slow-moving machine, you're locked in for like 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. And like, it's a big dollar amount thing. And then you go and train a bunch of people. All right, when you train people, you got another 50 people bought into it. So now you've got this army bought into whatever the thing was. So that's a really sticky thing. Now, with a lot of the AI tools are starting to get there, but they're not there yet. I'm seeing some now that, the big ones, like Cursor, Claude Code, like some of these, bigger, a lot of the specialized ones, like the legal AI ones or the medical AI ones, like those are stickier, but they don't ramp quite as insanely fast. So I think there's going to be a bit of a reckoning when people start to realize that these like 10 million in the first 12 months thing, it's like for every one of those, there's like 300 that didn't do anything. And that was just the one where like, it was the Labubu, right? For every Labubu, there's a whole bunch of other little stupid toys that didn't go anywhere. The Labubu just happened to get the colors and it was charming to the 13-year-old girl, and so they bought 1 million of them, right? It's that kind of psychology that's at play for those really crazy ramps. So that's the one signal that I think is a little false. The other one I'm seeing, this is like borderline fraud. It's like crazy. I'm seeing founders raise money on metrics that are a little bit made up and really overstate the reality. So like they'll say this term of contracted ARR, and maybe you're hearing this, like, yeah, they'll sign a contract where something is, let's say it's $100 a year, but they'll provision it, say, we're giving you seats all the way up to 100 seats, right? So then that could go all the way up to $10,000 a year in revenue. They would claim that the whole thing as contracted ARR. They'd say, hey, we have 10 grand in contracted ARR, even though it's actually only as they get used and if they get used, and there's nothing binding to that at all. So but people will say, hey, look, we just went like 0 to 10 million in contracted ARR. That doesn't mean they're invoicing that. Doesn't mean they have a contractual right to that. Like, it's completely bizarre. And I'm seeing VCs buy into it. They're like, oh my God, I've never seen 0 to 10 in 12 months, but it's like not 0 to 10. It's like 0 to potentially maybe kind of 10, like sort of, you know, like asterisk, like it's like insane. So anyway, so those are the two things that I think there's going to be some reckonings on. There's still real momentum though. It's going to be a real thing. There's going to be a really big change, really big AI companies, really big success stories. But those two signals I think are like a little fishy, and there's going to be some right sizing there.
All right, two questions. We've got probably less than a minute left. So you've had two exits. What's the biggest mistake founders make when they start thinking about selling their company?
Yeah, biggest mistake founders make when they I think it's so hard and so unlikely and so fragile that if you get an offer, you should take it way more seriously than you are. And if you're going to do it, be ready for a ton of hiccups and 11th hour backing outs. And like you need alternatives. Usually the best approach is to do things that would work anyways. So like look for partnership deals and then get to know them really well and like flirty, like kind of hint that like we might be open to something more strategic. That way, if they back out, you're still fine and you got this partnership and everything's good. And you can do a bunch of those in parallel. That's the biggest thing. And then the other thing is, just if an inbound comes, take it very seriously because it's impossible to describe how rare and fragile that is. And people think, oh, I could just go do this again. Like this will be on the table and I can go and get 10 more if I wanted to. Like not true.
Yeah, not true.
Yeah.
Not true at all. So last question, Andrew, and then that's a wrap. You're getting married. You posted it on LinkedIn. Congratulations. Yes. It is all it's cracked out to be. Starting a family and running a VC firm. What do you want your kids to learn from your career?
I think what I really want my kids to see from it all is that you just got to, get up early and work hard and just keep doing that forever. And great things will happen. Like that's kind of it. I think people, especially when you're young, you get caught up in the Disney World, like glamorous stuff. And you think that there's some Hail Mary pass and that's how it all happens. That's not really how it happens. It's like, you're going to the coal mine every day and you can have fun with it. And it should be something you enjoy and you should have great people you work with and like take vacations, all that stuff. But like it's a really sacred thing to work for others and to like add value to other people's things. And there's no shame in that. And, just do the work, do the grindy stuff. Don't be afraid of it. And then have the like perspective. And this is where hopefully I can give them some perspective, but like have the perspective of the bigger picture stuff too. So like how business owners think about things and how to, raise money, sell companies, stuff like that. If you can have both, I think it's a really powerful combo.
I love that. I think that's a great way to wrap up the show. Anything else? Any lasting words?
No, man. No, this has been fun. Anyone listening to this should check out Shane Mahi as well. He's an absolute badass. He's been around the block, got some great stories, and he's working on an incredible project, which I'm honored to be a part of. And see you all soon. Thanks for the time.
Thank you again, bro. That's it. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this episode and staying here the whole way through. If you like what you saw, click subscribe. It'll take you 2 seconds. It helps me reach amazing guests and deliver valuable content for you. And if you ever want to find out what we do as a business, go to www.gorevintel.com, and that is the place where we help you make decisions that are backed by intelligence, and it's for founder CEOs. That's it for me for now. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.